Yeah, all I need is one mic. Yeah, all I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to a new episode of One Mic where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about the new Apple Plus film entitled Cherry, starring Tom Holland and Sierra Bravo. You, of course, will know Tom Holland from Spider-Man in the MCU. And this film is also directed by the Russo brothers, who we also know from the MCU as the directors of Captain America Winter Soldier, Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity Game, and Avengers Endgame. So pretty much the best four films in the MCU were directed by the Russo brothers. So Cherry is essentially a film about a guy played by Tom Holland who, normal college guy, falls on hard times, decides to go to the army, has what you would generally expect to be a typical army experience, comes back with PTSD, and gets into all kinds of problems with drugs and crime. It's kind of very, I can't even say kind of, it's very formulaic. You don't get anything different with this film than you would get with most war films or films that showcase the effects of war. We get it's broken up into parts, just kind of similar to the Snyder Cut of Justice League, but not in a more effective way than that. I feel like Snyder Cut just was just like, hey, it'd be cool to insert some title cards in here. Just fucking do it. But this one is actually broken up into parts. So the first part is his time in college when he's younger. The second part is when he decides to go to the army, which is his basic training. The third part is his time spent in the army. The fourth part is his return home as and delving into drugs and crime. And then there's an epilogue, and there's a prologue as well. So that's how the film is broken up. When I say it's formulaic, what I mean is like you're not going to get anything that you haven't seen in your typical war film or your typical guy or gal who is totally far too gone hooked on drugs. Not really anything creative there. I don't want to say creative, original. Not really anything original there. The Russo brothers do something that it didn't take me out of it, but I noticed it and it felt very unnecessary, which was they introduce a whole lot of like stylistic kind of, I don't want to call them tricks, but I feel like they're tricks to kind of like draw your attention away from the fact that the content itself is not very original. So like you get, like I mentioned before, you get the title cards. There are certain characters that don't have names, including Tom Holland's character. He's referred to as Cherry like in the credits, but like I don't believe anyone calls him Cherry or any other name throughout the film. But a lot of characters don't have names. There's a moment where he runs into Pooch Hall from the game, who looks way older and significantly bigger than he did on the game. But he runs into Pooch Hall, and there's like a sign on his desk that says like Sergeant Whomever or something like that. He goes to a couple banks that just say, you know, like fuck you bank or something like that. I don't know. They get a couple different names, but you know, kind of like little Easter eggs there for you to spot. You know, it does some a lot of breaking of the fourth wall. You'll have Tom Holland kind of looking at the camera and narrate his thoughts while certain things are going on around him. Very kind of like just like generic kind of, hey, let's insert this fancy thing in here because it's fucking cool, instead of like using it for a purpose. And sadly enough, I think the purpose of interjecting all of these interesting things is again to kind of mask the fact that the Russo brothers aren't really doing anything original here. This is very run-of-the-mill stuff. Having said that, I still recommend this movie because Tom Holland and Sierra Bravo are fucking amazing in it. I'll give you a bit of background with Sierra Bravo, or Ciara Bravo, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. I actually recognize her from this show called, oh fuck, what was it called? Like the Red something, the Red, fuck. I might have to look this up because it's really gonna bother me if I can't remember what the name of this show is. But it was a show that aired on, I believe it was Fox. It was either Fox or ABC, and I'd watch it on Hulu the next day, and it was about Red Band Society. I remembered it without. I just randomly remembered it. But yeah, it was called Red Band Society, and it's about like a bunch of kids in the hospital. So it was like really not the most uplifting show you're gonna watch, the most cheerful show you're gonna watch. But it was about kids. I don't think they all have like terminal illnesses, but I think a couple did. I don't remember. This show was like 2014, something like that. But it had kids with like terminal illnesses, or who were just sick enough to where they lived in the hospital. They didn't, come to the hospital and they were there for a couple days and they go home. It was like this core group of kids who live in this hospital who all have various illnesses, and just kind of like how they get through their day to day, and you meet them and you learn about them and who they are and how they deal with their illnesses. And she was on this show, and I remember thinking she had a very unlikable face. And I know unlikable faces are kind of becoming a thing on this channel. I know I mentioned that about Rosamund Pike in the I Care a Lot video, but I don't know. I found her character to be very unlikable on that TV show, even though I really liked that show. I was surprised it got canceled, but I think they couldn't really find enough people to watch it to justify its cost. I think that was something that I saw around that time. I'm not entirely sure, but I've started watching this, and again, I found her very unlikable at the start of the film. But I mean, they're both really young. They're both really just not really sure what to do with their lives. She says that she's going to go off to Montreal for school, and Cherry says that he's going to go off to Iraq for war. But they don't really, know what they're doing. They're just kind of, flying by the seat of their pants through life. And I found her to be equally as irritating as I found her on Red Band Society. But when Tom Holland's character comes back from war and he's suffering from the PTSD and he's getting into drugs and he's getting into crime, like, they get back together. Like, there's no, like, he left for war and she left for Montreal and then that was it. Like, they come back together and they share their lives as both junkies and criminals. And from that point on, she's like amazing. Like, she did a phenomenal job. And the reason I recommend this film is that even though it's very formulaic in very many ways, Tom Holland's performance and hers felt very real to me. Like, very real, very grimy, very gritty. I think, what was the other thing? There's something that I mentioned before where I felt like it was a very accurate portrayal of, I think it was probably drug abuse. And I'm for some reason, I'm drawing a blank on whatever that was, but you've seen these kinds of things a lot, right? And I feel like Tom Holland's portrayal was probably the most troubled I felt watching someone portray a drug addict. Like, it was so good. I'm wondering, like, is he actually just like saying, fuck it, I'm going to do heroin to make this shit seem real? Like, I read an article and he said that he didn't, but he talked about, apparently there's a guy in Hollywood who's a rehab counselor who kind of gets called onto these movie sets to coach actors through what it's like to portray someone with drug issues. And this guy helped him out. But man, Tom Holland was amazing. He really was. It was a sight to see. I've been concerned about the idea of him being stuck or typecast as like Spider-Man or Spider-Man types, because he's so good in that role. Like, he really is a good Peter Parker. And this proved to me that he puts that sort of effort into every type of role, where it's not, they didn't just find a guy who doesn't have to put a lot of effort into playing Peter Parker and they're like, oh, this guy's perfect. They found somebody who can act their fucking ass off, and that's why he's Peter Parker. Because, like, man, he dove into this role with reckless abandon, man. And the article I read, he said something like, I'm never doing this shit again. Like, this was really problematic for me, and I could see that. But yeah, again, on the surface, pretty formulaic film. You're gonna get your standard, shocking war imagery. But again, you see that in every war film. If you think you're not gonna see some fucking limbs chopped off or some shit like that, you will. The portrayals of drug abuse after he comes back from war, again, are the high points of the film between both him and Sierra Bravo. They absolutely crush the drug addiction aspect of the film. But again, you're going to see the same kind of things that you're accustomed to seeing. People making poor decisions, continuing to do drugs in situations where it's like, you just did this like 45 minutes ago and it totally fucked you over. Why are you doing it again? And you see a lot of that poor decision making, a lot of the effects of withdrawal, things like that. So you're going to see a lot of the stuff that you're accustomed to. But I still recommend this film because I feel like you got to check out Tom Holland's performance in this. It's really amazing stuff. But, if you're somebody who finds war films tough to stomach, or drug, depictions of severe drug abuse to be tough to stomach, then it might be something you want to avoid because it is very real and it's very gritty. But it's amazing work from those two. So I recommend it on those grounds. But I'm not sure how I feel about a lot of the formulaic aspects of the film, as well as like the unnecessary stylistic things that I think the Russos did, again, to kind of cover up the fact that there's not really anything original going on here. So it's like, hey, here's some fancy shit to look at, and here's some phenomenal performances from these two actors. But again, check out the film because, again, amazing work from Tom Holland. Like, I really think it's something people should be talking about more. So recommend it on that, on those terms. Until then, I will see you guys next time. I don't know what the next movie I'm going to be covering is, but going forward, I'm covering Snowfall every week. I'm covering The Falcon and the Winter Soldier every week, and that will have 2 episodes per week. An initial reaction from me alone on Friday, and then on Tuesday, a deep dive with me and Axel Foley of Daily DVR. So all kinds of good stuff coming down the pipe pretty soon. I'm going to wrap up Gamora Season 4 fairly soon. There's a spin-off movie. I'm going to watch and review that as well. And then after Gamora's done, I'm probably going to start up something else that I'll probably cover season to season. Cobra Kai, maybe. I'm thinking about Boardwalk Empire. Like maybe going back and watching something old. And then I'm also thinking about possibly making that kind of like a Patreon feature. So we'll see. Once I build up enough of a following to where I feel like a Patreon could serve me, I have a few ideas for things I want to go on there as well. But till then, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.